First things first, man, the Packers have made a flurry of roster moves really around the practice squad more or less, but one around the quarterback position. And this doesn't really catch us off guard, right? We kind of talked about this with Desmond Ridder. It felt like what the Packers were doing were setting themselves up for the future potentially if Malik Willis does break the bank in free agency. And, of course, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But here is what Tom Silverstein tweeted out. Packers have signed quarterback Desmond Ridder to the active roster from the practice squad. They also signed wide receiver Julian Hicks, wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson. It's weird, right? Keyshawn Johnson. Not that Keyshawn Johnson, though, right? Tim, wasn't there a great Keyshawn Johnson that played for the Jets?
That was Keyshawson.
I got a little excited. I said, man, he's coming out of retirement. He might be playing left tackle. I don't think he's going to play receiver. He's a little bit bigger nowadays. And tied in Messiah Swinson to the practice squad. They released quarterback Clayton Tune. So, Tim, it took one game, and they said, Clayton, thank you for your service. We're going to go in a different direction.
It's Clayton, I've seen your podcast. You're out of here.
Yeah, exactly, man. If you play football as consistently as you podcast, Bub, we don't need you in the building, I believe is what they said there. So let's kind of break these down, man. Let's start with Desmond Ridder. And we talked about this the other day. People look at Desmond Ridder. He's been on like 3 different teams now and cut from practice squads and this and that. And of course, we poached him, I think, from the Vikings practice squad, if I remember correctly. He's been with Atlanta. I think he was in Arizona, and then he went to Minnesota. But people forget Malik Willis was ready to be cut from Tennessee, right? And he was going to kind of be thrown on the trash heap, so to speak. The Packers traded a 7th-round pick for him. They flipped him into one of the better – I feel comfortable saying one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. I mean, he's graded out in the 90s. Every opportunity he's got, he's played really, really well. So you take him – That's right, Coach. That's right. You take him on as a project, and you're now flipping that from a 7th-round pick to probably what could turn into, and I don't know what the best comp pick you can get is. I've heard 3rd-round pick. I've heard others say, no, you can't get more than a 5th. I'm not a comp pick guru here, nor do I play one on TV. So, Bates, if you want to take a second, look that up, man. What's the maximum value you can get in terms of a comp pick? Now, it won't be for 2026. It would be for 2027. Okay. Maybe the Packers can massage that situation enough to somehow, some way. I don't see there being enough room to franchise tag, then trade, because you got to kind of tie that cap up a little bit. But would like to know what the maximum comp pick is. That would be for 2027. But how Desmond Ridder comes into play here, Tim, he was the 3rd-ranked quarterback in the same draft as Malik Willis, where Malik Willis was the 1st quarterback. Now, we know Kenny Pickett went before Malik Willis in that draft, and I think we all feel comfortable saying they missed that one, right? So with that being said, it's kind of interesting to see. It sounds to me like Matt LaFleur, or not Matt LaFleur, but Brian Gutekunst and his scouting staff probably had a very similar grade to Malik Willis as they did Desmond Ridder. Maybe they had Malik Willis with a 1st-round grade, or maybe even a 2nd-round grade. Maybe they had Desmond Ridder a tier or 2 below him. But nonetheless, kind of feels like Desmond Ridder might be the quarterback of the future in terms of backing up Jordan Love in Green Bay. And to the best of my knowledge, Tim, one last fact here, I believe what it means is by them signing him, they obtain his rights through next year, right? It's going to kind of essentially turn him into a futures contract, right? So how do you feel about this, man?
Put Gangster Goody up on the screen real quick, because I love this move. No disrespect to Clayton, but I love the move, right? We all know what's going to happen with Malik in free agency, right? So, making a move like this, signing Desmond Ridder, active roster. You bring up my boy Julian Hicks. I've been talking about him at camp. I'm excited about this. You release Clayton Tune, best of wishes to him. Messiah Swinson, a guy that we're familiar with, moves up, and he's on the practice squad. So I think this is a good move all around by Goody and the boys at 1265. I'll take it. Because like you said, like when you look at Ridder and you look at Willis, you're talking about 2 guys that were probably recruited around the same parameters. And obviously Malik Willis is that dude. But looking at Desmond Ridder, it's a good move, right? You're thinking ahead. You're thinking to the future. We've got our lineup set for Saturday, right? It's going to be Malik and Jordan as your QBs. So making a move like this, I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah, and United Bates says it looks like a third-round pick, typically a late third-rounder, is the maximum comp pick you could get. Now, again, that won't be for 2026. If someone does sign him to a huge contract, we'll talk about that here in a minute, then it would be a 2027 third-round pick, which, hey, you flip the 7 into a 3, and you got great backup play, right? Now, I would love to have Malik Willis back as a backup, but I don't think anybody's kidding themselves into thinking we're going to pay, over $25
million for a backup.
Right. And there are some people, again, we'll talk about it here in a second. There's some people that think he may go for $40 million per, Tim. Like, it's just wild to think about. So
forget what I'm saying. That's double what I'm saying. Holy cow.
It's wild. Thank you for that info, Bates. Appreciate you, buddy. Ron Sample says Ridder has to feel like he hit the jackpot. This could save his career. Completely agree, Ron. Completely agree. Get in there with Matt LaFleur. Get into an offensive scheme system where you could kind of embed yourself, learn the system, learn how it's quarterback friendly, and kind of maybe come in and showcase your skills every now and again as a backup and show that, hey, all right, yeah, I am an NFL level quarterback, as opposed to bouncing around to all these teams that have had coaching problems and everything in between. Notice I didn't mention he was on any teams where it's like, wow, that's a year in and year out solid team, right? Atlanta struggled this year. They missed the playoffs. Obviously, Arizona is a dumpster fire. Look like they might be moving on from Kyler Murray, which that's something that could play a role in the Malik Willis sweepstakes as well. Yeah. If Kyler Murray hits free agency, someone might have a higher grade on him coming into the draft as opposed to a Malik Willis and what he's put on tape recently. Maybe someone would bid higher on him as opposed to Malik Willis. That could happen if for some reason he is a free agent. And then of course,
Arizona clearly moving on from a lot of guys right now.
Yes.
We'll just leave that alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with what Ron said there. Now, the next little bit of roster news from Tom Silverstein once again. He had tweeted out a quote. He quote tweeted that tweet we just showed, and he says, Packers called up tight end Drake Dabney from the practice squad last week. The 6'7", 259-pound Swinson would be a bigger option if they call someone up against the Bears. Obviously, You're down Tucker Kraft. You're now down Fitzpatrick with the Achilles. So you've got, your tight ends are Luke Musgrave, Josh Wiley, and now it's going to be a flurry of guys to see who you want to call up, right, Tim?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And, if you're not going to sign Big Dog, Mercedes Lewis, released from the Broncos recently, Messiah Swinson is your guy. That's the big dude you want. But Drake Dabney, looked okay. But we have a thin tight end room, right? Massive injuries to Tucker Kraft and, even Wiley. Wiley's just getting back after being concussed. We lost Fitzpatrick. So time will tell what the moves are going to be, but I love this. I love, bringing Swinson up into the fold and letting these guys kind of compete for who's going to get those first team reps, because right now Musgrave's TN1 for me, That's your first tight end. It's Luke Musgrave.
Definitely. All right, so there you go. That is the flurry of moves that the Packers made, and more importantly, kind of setting the stage for the future, the potential future backup of the Packers. Listen, if a quarterback drops in the draft to the third round and they had a first-round grade on him or something, you swoop him up in the third round, our boy Ridder's probably going to be on the practice squad or gone, right? So there's a lot of things that can happen before we hit training camp next year. But I think this is a good sign for him to end up in Green Bay, at least for the foreseeable future. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know about that move with Ridder. Let us know what you think about Malik Willis, as we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper now. But make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future.